It started with a single text that detonated my carefully constructed world like a grenade. "You don't have to hide from me. I see you." My throat went dry the moment I read it. I wasn't sure if I should laugh, throw up, or run out into the cold night air screaming. Because those words, the ones glowing on my cracked iPhone screen at 12:47 a.m. were from him. The golden boy, the quarterback, the guy whose smile could sell out stadiums and whose arm could hurl a football like it weighed nothing. The same guy who'd never once spoken more than 3 words to me in class. Logan Carter. And somehow, inexplicably, impossibly, he knew. I gripped my phone so tightly my knuckles went white. My dorm room felt smaller by the second, like the walls were shrinking inward. I glanced at my roommate's empty bed. Thank God he was gone for the weekend. Because if anyone saw my face right now, pale with terror and flushed with something else I refused to name, they'd know too. I'd spent the last 2 years at Madison University burying every part of myself that didn't fit. The parts that wanted, the parts that longed, the parts that a boy like me wasn't supposed to admit existed. Because when you grow up in a small Midwestern town with a pastor for a father and a mother who talks about traditional values at dinner like she's reading from a script, you learn quickly that wanting another boy isn't just dangerous, it's catastrophic. And yet, Logan Carter had sent me that text. It wasn't like I didn't notice him before. How could anyone not notice him? He was the star of the football team, the guy professors gave extensions to because they didn't want to be the reason Madison lost a game. He was the one girls at parties whispered about in bathrooms, the one whose face filled the Jumbotron on Saturdays. He was everything I wasn't. Confident, untouchable, beloved. And me? I was Nathan Price. Average grades, part-time job at the campus library. A kid who blended into the background so well people sometimes forgot I was there. I kept my head down, my voice quiet, my secrets buried. But somehow Logan saw through it. The memory of earlier that day flickered in my head. We'd been in the same sociology lecture, Professor Daniels droning on about power dynamics in modern relationships. I'd felt Logan's eyes on Mess Harp, unrelenting, like he was trying to solve a puzzle only he could see. I ducked my head, fiddling with my pen, pretending to take notes. But my skin burned like he was peeling back layers I'd fought my whole life to keep hidden. And now here it was, confirmed in the form of a text. "You don't have to hide from me. I see you." What the hell did that even mean? I typed a reply, then deleted it, typed again, deleted again. My thumb hovered over the keyboard as my pulse hammered in my ears. Finally, I sent the safest response I could think of. Wrong number. The 3 dots appeared almost immediately. My chest seized. He was still awake. He was still texting me. Then his reply came, "Not a wrong number, Nathan. My name." My stomach dropped. He knew it. He wasn't pretending. He wasn't mistaken. Before I could respond, another message came through. "Relax. I'm not going to out you. I know what it's like." I stared at the screen so long my eyes blurred. My first instinct was denial. Logan couldn't possibly be saying what I thought he was. He couldn't mean that. Not him. Not the guy who had the entire campus worshipping at his feet. And yet, my hands shook as I set the phone down on my desk. I backed away from it like it was a loaded weapon. My heart was sprinting laps in my chest. And the worst part? Beneath all the fear, beneath the panic, something else was blooming inside me. Something dangerous. Hope. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it had all been some bizarre prank. Maybe he'd gotten my number from someone and was messing with me. Maybe the football guys had some bet going on. See who could rattle the quiet kid in the back row. Except when I walked into the dining hall for breakfast, tray clutched against my chest like a shield, Logan was there, sitting with his teammates, laughing too loud, looking like every other day. But then his eyes met mine across the crowded room, and he smiled. Not the easy public smile he gave the world. This one was smaller, sharper, aimed directly at me like an arrow. I nearly dropped my tray. The first time Logan cornered me, it was outside the library. I'd been shelving returns in the late afternoon when I felt a presence behind me. I turned and there he was, leaning casually against the stacks, still in his practice gear, sweat dampening his hairline. "Hey!" he said like we were old friends. Hey, I muttered, shoving a book into the wrong spot. He raised a brow. You're gonna screw up the Dewey Decimal System doing that. Heat shot to my face. He noticed. Of course he noticed. Why are you talking to me? I asked before I could stop myself. He shrugged, stepping closer. Too close. Because I want to. My back pressed against the shelf. My heartbeat was a drumline. You're supposed to be at practice, I stammered. I ditched early. His eyes softened, but his voice dropped low. Wanted to see you. My brain short-circuited. This couldn't be happening. I froze there between shelves of worn-out textbooks and half-broken ladders, caught like an animal in headlights. Logan Carter, 6'2" of everything I'd been told never to want, was standing so close that I could smell the faint mix of grass, sweat, and the sharp citrus of his cologne. My hands shook against the spines of books. Wanted to see me? I repeated, voice cracking. It sounded ridiculous out loud, like a line stolen from a bad soap opera. But Logan didn't flinch. His grin softened into something that looked almost nervous. Yeah, he said, stuffing his hands into the pocket of his hoodie. That's not so hard to believe, is it? Yes. Yes, it was impossible to believe. I wanted to tell him so, to remind him that people like him didn't even notice people like me unless it was to copy homework or ask for directions to the quiet section of the library. But my throat locked up, strangled by a dozen conflicting emotions. Instead, I whispered, "You're joking." He tilted his head, studying me like I was the most complicated playbook he'd ever had to memorize. Do I look like I'm joking? God, he didn't. His voice was low, steady. His eyes hazel with flecks of gold when the light caught them didn't waver. My chest tightened. The air in the room felt heavy, suffocating, and yet, for some reason, I couldn't take a single step back. You shouldn't be here, I blurted out, though my voice lacked conviction. Why not? Because people will see. They'll ask questions. He smirked, but it wasn't cruel, just faintly sad. Let them. I wanted to scream at him, to tell him he didn't understand, that he could never understand what it felt like to live every day in fear of being seen. But then he leaned just a fraction closer, and my breath caught. Don't worry, he murmured. So quiet I almost didn't hear it. I told you already. I'm not gonna out you. I'm not here to make your life harder. I want to know you. Those last words hit me like a punch. Nobody wanted to know me. They wanted my notes, my help with essays, my ability to stay quiet in group projects. But me? Never. I shook my head, forcing myself to slip sideways past him, heart hammering. You've got the wrong guy, I muttered, clutching the cart of books like it was a lifeline. But his hand shot out, brushing my wrist just a touch, light as air, yet it burned through me. Don't run, Nathan, he said softly. Please. And then, mercifully, he let me go. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the ghost of his touch against my wrist, heard the way his voice cracked on the word, please. My brain replayed the moment like a cruel movie stuck on loop. By morning, I told myself it had to stop. Whatever Logan thought he wanted from Might was dangerous. Too dangerous. I couldn't risk it. But then came another text. You avoid me like I'm the plague. You know I'm not gonna quit that easy, right? I sat at my desk, staring at the words until my vision blurred. My first instinct was to block him, to shut the whole thing down. But instead, I typed back before I could stop myself. What do you want from me? The reply was instant. Everything you're afraid to give. My chest caved. My palms went clammy. I hated him for knowing the exact string of words that could both terrify and ignite me. And I hated myself for wanting to believe him. Days blurred together, and still Logan didn't give up. He found me in small, quiet ways, holding open the lecture hall door when I least expected it, sliding into the seat behind me during class, his voice low when he asked if I'd understood the reading, smiling across the quad like I was the only one who existed in his line of sight. Each moment chipped away at my defenses. And then there was the night everything cracked open. It was raining hard, the kind of September storm that swallowed the campus in sheets of silver. I'd been walking back from my shift at the library, hoodie pulled tight, when headlights slowed beside me. "Need a ride?" His voice. I turned, water dripping from my lashes, and there he was, Logan, leaning across the driver's seat of his beat-up truck, hair damp from practice. I hesitated. "I'm fine. You're soaked. I'll live." He sighed dramatically. "Nathan, just get in. You're gonna catch pneumonia." Against all logic, I climbed in. The cab smelled faintly of leather and pine air freshener. Logan's music played low on the radio, some old country song about heartbreak. He glanced at me, water dripping down my nose onto his seat. "You're stubborn," he said, amused. "You're pushy." I shot back. He laughed, a sound that made my chest ache in ways I didn't want to name. The drive was short, but the silence between us was louder than thunder. When he pulled up in front of my dorm, I reached for the handle immediately, but his hand caught my arm. "Wait." My pulse shot up. I turned, and his eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that nearly unraveled me. "You think I don't know what it's like," he said quietly. "But I do. Everyone thinks I've got it all figured out, girls, football, this perfect life. But it's bullshit. All of it. I'm so tired of pretending." I stared at him, rainwater dripping from my hood. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I don't want to pretend around you." The world tilted. My throat closed. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. And then, like gravity had its own plan, she leaned closer. His lips brushed mine, feather-light, tentative. Question, not an answer. I gasped, pulling back like I'd been burned. "Two can't," I stammered, fumbling with the door handle. "Logan, I can't." And then I was gone, sprinting through the rain, heart tearing itself in two. For 3 days I avoided him. I skipped lectures, took the long route around campus, practically lived in the library basement. But I couldn't escape the memory of that kiss, not really. The way it felt both terrifying and inevitable, like I'd been waiting for it my entire life. On the 4th day, he cornered me again. This time in the art building, where I thought nobody would find me. "You're killing me here, Nathan," he said, blocking the door with his broad frame. His eyes were shadowed with something raw, something desperate. "Talk to me." I shook my head. "This, whatever you think, this ice, it can't happen." "Why not?" His voice cracked, rough with frustration. "Because of what people will say. Because of your family? Screw them. Screw all of it." "You don't get it," I shouted, louder than I meant to. My chest heaved. "If they find out, it's not just some gossip column for me. It's my entire life. My dad, me, mom, they'll disown me. I'll lose everything." Logan's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Then let me be the thing you don't lose." My vision blurred with tears I refused to let fall. God, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to collapse into him and forget the world. But I couldn't. So I pushed past him, whispering, "You deserve someone braver than me." And for the first time, I saw pain flash across Logan's perfect face. That night, his texts went unanswered. And mine, the ones I wanted to send, stayed unsent. Because I was terrified of one thing more than losing everything. I was terrified of admitting that Logan Carter, the golden boy of Madison University, had already broken through every wall I'd built. And I was falling. The days that followed felt like I was living someone else's life. I kept my head down in class, though I could feel him behind me, his presence like static electricity on the back of my neck. I left lectures the moment they ended, slipped outside doors, buried myself deeper in the library than I ever had before. But none of it worked. Logan was everywhere. His laugh echoed across the quad. His name filled conversations. His face was on every poster plastered around campus. And worst of all, every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, the rain dripping from his lashes. The way he had said, "Let me be the thing you don't lose." I couldn't escape him. Not in my head. Not in my heart. It all came crashing down at the Saturday game. I hadn't planned to go, I never did, but my roommate dragged me along, waving his free ticket in my face. "Come on, Nathan, live a little," he said. "Besides, we're playing state. It's gonna be insane." So there I was, sitting in the freezing bleachers surrounded by screaming fans, trying not to let my eyes wander to the one player I swore I wouldn't look at. But then the announcer's voice boomed, "Quarterback Logan Carter," and the stadium roared. And just like that, I was looking. He was in his element helmet tucked under his arm, jersey tight across his shoulders, every inch of him radiating confidence. Except, when the crowd quieted, just for a second, his eyes flicked up toward the stands. Toward me. I froze, breath stuck in my throat, and he smiled. Small, private. Just for me. I shouldn't have gone to the afterparty. God knows I didn't belong there. But my roommate insisted again, already half drunk on the victory buzz. So I ended up crammed into a house reeking of beer and sweat, music rattling the walls. I tried to blend into a corner. Tried to convince myself Logan wouldn't notice me in the chaos. But I should have known better. Because less than an hour later, a hand closed gently around my wrist, pulling me through the crowd. "Come with me," he said, voice low enough that no one else heard. And just like that, I was following him up the stairs, past couples pressed against walls, past doors that slammed shut with laughter spilling out. My pulse thundered in my ears. We ended up in a room lit only by the faint glow of a desk lamp. Logan shut the door behind us and leaned against it, like he needed to keep the rest of the world out. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he whispered, "Do you hate me?" I blinked. "What?" "For pushing. For not leaving you alone." His jaw clenched, but his eyes were soft. Vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. "I don't want to mess this up. I don't know how to stop wanting you." My throat burned. I turned away, hugging myself like I could hold my body together. "You don't understand, Logan. This isn't just a game to me. If people find out of my family." He crossed the room in 2 strides, stopping inches away. "Then let them find out," he said fiercely. "Why should they get to decide who you love? Why should they decide if you're happy?" My voice cracked. "Because they're my family. Then let me be yours too." The words shattered something inside me. I don't know who moved first. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was me. But suddenly his lips were on mine, desperate and hungry, nothing like the tentative brush in his truck. This was fire, and I was burning alive. I gasped against his mouth, and he deepened the kiss, his hands cupping my face like I was something precious. My knees went weak. My entire body screamed to give in, to finally let go of everything I'd been holding back. But panic rose too sharp, suffocating. I shoved him away, chest heaving. "I can't," I rasped, tears stinging my eyes. "Logan, I can't do this." He looked gutted, like I'd ripped the ground out from under him. "Nathan, I'm sorry," I whispered, already moving toward the door. I can't." And then I was gone. Again. Leaving him in that room with nothing but silence and the echo of a kiss that might have ruined me forever. The fallout was immediate. Logan stopped showing up behind me in lectures. He didn't text. He didn't look for me across the quad. And God, it hurt more than I thought it would. Because for all my running, some part of me had gotten used to being seen, to being wanted. Now it was like he'd vanished. And yet whispers filled the campus. Rumors that the star quarterback seemed off. That he wasn't throwing as clean, wasn't smiling as much. That maybe he was distracted. I knew why, and it tore me apart. One night, desperate, I wandered into the empty stadium. The field lights were off, the bleachers cold. And there he was alone, sitting at the 50-yard line, helmet resting beside him. For a moment I just watched. He looked smaller without the crowd, without the armor of his teammates' laughter. Just a boy, hunched over, staring at the ground. "Logan?" I whispered. Before I could stop myself, his head snapped up, and when he saw me, his face hardened. "What are you doing here?" I had to see you." He let out a bitter laugh. "Why? So you can tell me again how much you can't do this." The sting in his voice cut me. I stepped closer, shoving my hands into my hoodie pocket to keep them from shaking. "I'm sorry," I said. "I never wanted to hurt you." "Yeah, well, you did." He stood, shoulders squared, his usual confidence dimmed but not gone. Do you have any idea what it's like, pouring your heart out to someone and watching them run every single time? Tears threatened to spill, but I forced myself to hold his gaze. Do you have any idea what it's like being told your whole life that you'll burn in hell for who you are? That your family will never look at you the same way again? That you're wrong? His expression softened, pain flashing in his eyes. He took a step toward me. You're not wrong, Nathan. You're the realest thing I've ever wanted. The words broke me. I covered my face with my hands, sobs ripping through me before I could stop them. And then I felt him warm and steady, pulling me into his chest, holding me like I wasn't going to shatter. Shoo! He whispered into my hair. I've got you. I've got you. For the first time in my life, I let someone hold me without apology. But the world has a cruel way of punishing honesty. Because the next morning, photos appeared online. Grainy, but clear enough, and Logan on the field, locked in an embrace. By lunchtime, the whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were shouts, accusations, taunts, and my phone buzzed with a single message from my father. We need to talk. Now. My entire world tilted, and I realized whatever this thing with Logan was, whatever fragile happiness we had found, it had just been dragged into the light. And nothing would ever be the same. My father's voice over the phone was colder than the November wind that cut through the campus. Come home tonight. We'll discuss this in person. That was it. No, how are you? No space for explanation. Just the finality of a judge delivering a sentence. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone slipping from my hand, staring at the blank wall across from me. My roommate's side of the room was cluttered with clothes and textbooks, but mine was spotless sterile. Empty. Exactly how I felt inside. Logan showed up an hour later. I didn't even hear him knock. He just pushed the door open, his broad frame filling the doorway, his eyes tight with worry. You saw the pictures, he said. Everyone saw the pictures. Silence stretched between us, heavy as chains. Then he crossed the room, kneeling in front of me, forcing me to look at him. Nathan, listen to me. This doesn't change how I feel about you. If anything, it just makes me more certain. I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. You don't get it. My familial cut me off. I'll lose my place here. Everything I've worked for, it's gone. Then screw all of that, he said fiercely, his hands gripping mine. We'll figure it out. Together. His conviction was terrifying. Beautiful. Dangerous. But deep down, I knew he meant it. That weekend, I went home. The drive felt endless, every mile heavier than the last. My childhood house stood exactly as I remembered, white siding. The old oak tree in the yard, but it felt hostile now, like it was bracing itself for battle. Inside, my parents were waiting at the kitchen table. My mother's eyes were rimmed red, my father's Bible open in front of him like a weapon. Nathan, my dad began, his voice hard. Tell me this isn't true. I swallowed, throat dry. It's true. My mother's sob broke the silence. My father slammed his hand against the table. You are not that way, he snapped. You will not throw your life away on this. This sin. Anger flared, hot and sudden. I'd spent years shrinking under his shadow, years pretending. But something inside me finally snapped. I'm not throwing my life away. I shot back, my voice shaking. I'm finally living it. The words hung there, shocking even me. My father's face darkened. If you walk out of this house and choose him over us, don't bother coming back. My mother whispered, Please, Nathan. But she didn't move to stop him. And in that moment, I realized they weren't losing, May was losing them. I left with nothing but a duffel bag and a hollow ache in my chest. Logan was waiting outside in his truck. He didn't ask what happened. He just opened the passenger door and let me climb in. When he saw the tears I couldn't hide, he reached over and laced his fingers with mine. You've got me, he whispered. And for once, I believed it. The weeks that followed were brutal. The campus wasn't kind. Whispers followed us, glares cut like knives. Logan's teammates avoided him, some flat out refusing to practice with him. He lost his captain's title. Sponsors pulled back. And still, he stayed. Every morning, he showed up outside my dorm with coffee. Every night, he walked me back from the library, daring anyone to look twice. He didn't flinch, didn't hide. When I asked him why, he just said, "Because if I give up now, what was the point of fighting in the first place?" Finals week came. Snow fell heavy across campus, muffling the chaos. Logan had been benched for most of the season, but that night, the coach threw him in during the last quarter. The stadium was half empty. Most fans had already written the team off. But when Logan took the field, I felt something shift. He played like a man with nothing left to lose. Every pass clean, every throw precise, every step carrying the weight of someone who had fought harder off the field than on it. And when he threw the final touchdown, sealing an impossible comeback, the stadium erupted. He didn't look at the crowd. He looked at me. And for the first time, I didn't look away. We didn't win everyone over. Some people still sneered, still muttered under their breath. My parents never called. Holidays came and went without a single text. But I wasn't alone anymore. One night, curled up in Logan's tiny apartment, his arm draped heavy around me, I whispered the question that had haunted me since the beginning. "Why me?" He kissed my temple, his voice warm against my skin. "Because you're the only thing that's ever felt real." My chest ached with something fierce, something tender. And for the first time, I let myself say it back. "I love you." He smiled into my hair. "Took you long enough. We built our life in pieces. It wasn't perfect, never would be. But it was ours." And though the world still judged, though the echoes of my father's voice still lingered, I knew one truth with every beat of my heart. I wasn't hiding anymore. Because the star quarterback of Madison University had seen meth real mean instead of turning away, he had stayed. And together we weren't afraid. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.